My husband secretly took a second mortgage on our home. I found out and taught him a lesson he'll never forget. I thought I had a perfect marriage. My husband and I had built a life together, bought our dream home, and planned for the future. I trusted him completely. Until one day, I opened the mail and found a foreclosure notice. At first, I thought it was a mistake. We were making our payments on time, weren't we? But as I dug deeper, I uncovered the devastating truth. My husband had secretly taken a second mortgage on our home, behind my back, without telling me, and he had spent every single penny. I was blindsided, furious, betrayed. But if he thought I was just going to let this slide, he had no idea who he was dealing with, because I was about to teach him a lesson he'd never forget. Before we jump into today's video, I need your help. We've noticed the channel is losing some traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can support us. It's quick, free, and it helps us keep bringing you awesome content. Your support means the world. Let's keep this channel growing together. Thanks so much. Now let's start the video. It started like any other day. I got home from work, kicked off my shoes, and grabbed the stack of mail sitting on the kitchen counter. Bills, junk mail, a random store catalog. Nothing out of the ordinary. But then, one envelope caught my eye. It was thick, official looking, and had a return address from a mortgage company I didn't recognize. My stomach did a weird little flip. We had our mortgage with a different bank, so why was another lender sending us mail? I opened it, expecting maybe a mix-up or some kind of promotional offer, but instead, I found a foreclosure notice. My heart nearly stopped. Foreclosure? On our house? There had to be some kind of mistake. We weren't behind on our payments. We were careful, responsible. We always paid on time. I skimmed through the paperwork, my hands shaking. That's when I saw it, a second mortgage, taken out in my husband's name. I had never signed for this. I had never even heard about it. And yet, there it was, a massive loan with our house as collateral, and he had blown through every last cent. I felt like the floor had been ripped out from under me. How could he do this? Why would he do this? We had savings, we had financial plans. Why would he secretly take out a loan that could cost us our home? A million questions raced through my head, but one thing became crystal clear. This wasn't just a mistake. This was a betrayal, and I wasn't going to let him get away with it. I sat there, staring at the foreclosure notice, my hands gripping the paper so tightly it started to crumple. My mind was racing, flipping between shock, anger, and absolute confusion. How could he have done this without me knowing? And more importantly, why? I didn't even give myself time to cool down. I grabbed my phone, my fingers shaking, and called him. It rang once, twice, 3 times. Then, finally, he picked up. "Hey, babe, what's up?" His voice was casual, almost cheerful, like he hadn't just gambled away our future. "You tell me," I said, forcing my voice to stay calm. "Because I just opened a letter that says we're in foreclosure." Silence. A long, guilty silence. Then he let out a nervous chuckle. "Oh, about that. You took out a second mortgage?" I cut him off, my voice sharper now. "Without telling me? Without even mentioning it?" I could hear him swallow on the other end. "It's not as bad as it looks, babe. I was going to tell you." Oh, now I was babe again. Now he wanted to smooth things over? "When exactly?" I asked, my grip tightening on the phone. "When they came to change the locks? Or when we were packing up to move out?" He sighed. "I had everything under control. It was just a temporary thing. I needed the money, and I was going to fix it before you even found out." "Fix it?" I nearly laughed. "With what? Monopoly money? Because last time I checked, we don't have thousands of dollars lying around." His excuses were pathetic. He kept saying it was temporary, that he had a plan, that he was just waiting for a deal to come through. But when I asked him where the money had actually gone, he dodged the question. That's when I realized he wasn't just irresponsible. He was hiding something, and if he thought I was just going to let this slide, he had another thing coming. I wasn't going to let him weasel his way out of this. He had lied to me, risked our home, our future, and was now trying to act like it was no big deal. But I wasn't stupid. I knew there was more to this story. So, while he was still trying to feed me excuses, I did the one thing he never expected. I hung up. Not in a dramatic, rage-fueled way. I just went silent and ended the call. Let him sit with that. Let him wonder what I was thinking, what I was going to do next. Because I had a plan. I spent the next few hours digging through everything: bank statements, credit card bills, old emails, anything that could tell me where the hell all that money had gone. If he wasn't going to be honest, then I was going to find the truth myself. And when I did, I almost couldn't believe it. Thousands of dollars, not just gone, but wasted. Casino transactions, expensive gifts, money transfers to someone I didn't recognize. At first, I thought maybe he was gambling. Maybe he had gotten in over his head, betting on some sure thing that never paid off. But then I noticed the payments to a woman's name, repeated payments, large amounts. Oh, hell. Number. This wasn't just financial betrayal. This was something worse. And if he thought he could just sweep this under the rug and move on like nothing happened, he had no idea who he was messing with. I sat there, staring at the bank statements, my stomach twisting with rage. The second mortgage had been bad enough, but now I had proof he was sending money to another woman. I didn't want to jump to conclusions. Maybe there was some explanation. A relative I didn't know about, a debt he had never mentioned, something that wasn't as bad as it looked. But deep down, I knew, and I needed to hear him admit it. So I called him again. This time, he picked up immediately. "Hey babe, listen, I know you're upset, but who is she?" I cut him off, my voice like ice. A beat of silence. Then, "What?" "Don't play dumb, Ryan. I went through the statements. Who the hell is Lisa?" Another long pause. Too long. My heart pounded in my chest as I listened to him scramble for an excuse. She's just a friend." I almost laughed. A friend? A friend who apparently needed thousands of dollars in gifts. "Ryan, don't insult me. I've seen the payments. I've seen the amounts. Either you start telling me the truth right now, or I'm calling a lawyer." That did it. His voice changed instantly. No more fake confusion. No more trying to soften the blow. Now he was defensive. "It's not what you think," he snapped. "She needed help. She was going through some things, and I didn't want to tell you because I knew you'd freak out." Oh, he was right about one thing. I was absolutely freaking out. "So you just drained our home's equity to help another woman, without telling me, without asking me?" "I was going to fix it," he shot back. "I was going to get the money back." That was it. That was his big defense, that he meant well, that he had a plan, that I was overreacting. No remorse, no apology, just excuses. And that's when I stopped being sad, because now I was ready to make him pay. I hung up mid-sentence. No warning, no goodbyes, just silence. I wanted him to sit there, staring at his phone, knowing he had just dug his own grave. For a few minutes, I just sat in my chair, gripping the edge of the table so hard my knuckles turned white. I wasn't sad anymore. I wasn't confused. I was done. And if he thought I was just going to scream, cry, and let him talk his way out of this, he had no idea who he was dealing with. I took a deep breath and started making a list, not of ways to fix this, but of ways to make sure he paid for every single decision he had made. Step 1, protect myself. I wasn't about to let my credit, my name, or my future get tied to his financial mess. First thing the next morning, I called a lawyer. I needed to know exactly what legal steps I could take to separate myself from him before he dragged me down with him. Step 2, gather evidence. If this was going to get ugly, and it would, I needed proof. Bank statements, text messages, mortgage documents, everything. I took screenshots, printed files, and backed everything up in 3 different places. If he even thought about trying to lie his way out of this, I was going to have a paper trail ready to destroy him. Step 3, let him sweat. I wasn't going to text him. I wasn't going to yell or argue. I wanted him to wonder what I was planning. So, when he tried calling me that night, I let it ring, and ring, and ring. Then, just to twist the knife, I sent him one text. "Don't worry, I'll take care of this. You'll know what that means soon enough. No more explanations, no more second chances, because tomorrow, the real fun was going to start." The next morning, I woke up feeling clear-headed and dangerous. No more second-guessing, no more wondering if I was overreacting. I had a plan, and I was going to execute it flawlessly. First, I met with my lawyer. I laid everything out: the secret second mortgage, the missing money, the transfers to another woman. She listened carefully, her face unreadable, before finally leaning back in her chair. "He's in deep," she said. "But lucky for you, he's the only one legally responsible for that loan. Since you never signed, they can't come after you for repayment." That was the best news I'd heard all week. It meant that even though our home was technically at risk, I wasn't legally bound to his stupidity. The lawyer helped me file a legal separation of finances, which meant that if this went to court, he'd be the only one drowning in debt. Next, I took all my evidence, screenshots, documents, even past text messages that hinted at his lies, and sent it to a private investigator. If he was stupid enough to financially cheat, I had a strong feeling he wasn't exactly faithful in other ways either. If he had been seeing this Lisa behind my back, I was going to have proof. But the final step? That was my masterpiece. I knew Ryan well enough to know he still thought he could smooth things over. That if he just played the victim, blamed stress, or pulled the "I just wanted to be a provider" card, I'd fold. So I let him think that. I finally answered his texts, keeping my responses short and vague. "We need to talk. Come home at 7. I knew he'd show up thinking he had a chance to fix this. And that made what I was about to do so much better. I spent the entire day setting the stage. I wanted Ryan to walk into a situation he couldn't talk his way out of. No distractions, no half-baked excuses, just cold, hard reality smacking him in the face. At exactly 7 p.m., I heard his car pull into the driveway. My heart was pounding, but not with nerves, with anticipation. He walked through the door, looking sheepish but still cocky, like he thought a few well-placed apologies and some fake tears would make me forget the fact that he had nearly destroyed our future. "Hey babe," he started, putting on his best "I'm just a misunderstood guy" face. "I know you're mad, and I get it, but can we just talk about this?" I gestured to the dining table. "Sit." He hesitated, eyes flickering to the stack of papers waiting for him. Bank statements, transaction records, printouts of every single payment he had sent to Lisa. His face went pale. "Where did you get all this?" His voice wasn't confident anymore. "Does it matter?" I leaned forward, resting my elbows on the table. "You took a second mortgage behind my back. You drained our home's equity, and you sent thousands of dollars to some woman named Lisa. So, let's start there, shall we?" Ryan stammered, his hands shaking as he shuffled through the evidence. "It's not what it looks like. I was helping a friend." "A friend?" I scoffed. "Do all your friends get secret monthly payments, or is Lisa just special?" He ran a hand through his hair, grasping for an excuse. She was in a bad situation. I was just trying to be a good person. You know I'd never cheat on you." I let out a short laugh. "I never said you cheated, Ryan, but wow, your guilty conscience sure is talking." His face dropped. He knew. I had him cornered, and I wasn't finished yet. "Here's how this is going to go," I said, sliding another document toward him. "I've already filed for legal separation of finances. The mortgage, the debt, it's all on you now. I won't be held responsible for your stupidity." Ryan froze. He had been expecting a fight, screaming, crying, maybe even a dramatic breakup speech. What he hadn't expected, that I had already made my escape plan. Ryan stared at the paperwork like it was a death sentence. His face was pale, his hands gripping the edges of the table like he could somehow make this all go away if he just held on tight enough. You can't do this," he stammered. "We're married. We're supposed to work through things together." I leaned back in my chair, arms crossed. "Oh, now we're supposed to do things together. Where was this partnership when you took out a second mortgage on our home without telling me? When you were wiring money to some woman behind my back?" He opened his mouth, probably to spew another excuse, but I held up a hand. "Save it, Ryan. This isn't a debate. It's already done." I watched the realization sink in. He wasn't just in trouble. He was alone in this. I had cut myself off from his financial mess, and now he was the only one drowning. "So what? You're just leaving?" he asked, his voice hollow. "I'm protecting myself," I corrected. "You made your choices. Now you get to live with them." His jaw clenched. "You're really going to let our house get taken?" That made me laugh. "Our house? No, Ryan. You lost that the second you took a secret loan on it. This isn't my mess. It's yours." The anger flashed in his eyes, but I could see something else too. Fear. He had never considered this outcome. He thought he could fix it in secret, smooth things over before I found out. He thought I'd be stupid enough to clean up after him. But now, He was completely screwed, and I wasn't done yet. "Oh, and one more thing," I said, sliding one last file across the table. "I hired a private investigator." Ryan blinked, his hands trembling as he hesitated before flipping it open. The moment his eyes landed on the pictures, he went completely still, because there she was, Lisa, sitting at a restaurant laughing, with him. I had him dead to rights. "Turns out you weren't just financially reckless, you were personally reckless too," I said, my voice calm. "And now, you get to lose everything." His mouth opened, but no words came out. For the first time, Ryan had nothing to say. And that was the best part of all. Ryan's hands trembled as he stared at the evidence. Photos, receipts, a clear timeline of every secret dinner, every hotel stay, every transfer of money to Lisa. He looked like a man staring at his own execution. "I can explain," he finally croaked. I tilted my head. "Can you? Because I'd love to hear how thousands of dollars, a second mortgage, and private meetings at a hotel lobby all have a totally innocent explanation." He swallowed hard. "It wasn't like that. I wasn't, Lisa and I—" He stopped, shaking his head, unable to even form a full excuse. "Save it," I cut him off. "You know what the funniest part is? I would have never known about Lisa if you hadn't been dumb enough to steal from me first. You could have just left me. Hell, you could have just told me the truth. But no, you had to screw me over financially too. And now," I leaned in, my voice sharp, "you're going to lose everything." His face twisted in panic. "You don't have to do this," he pleaded. "We can fix this." I smiled. "Oh, we're fixing it, all right." I slid one last document across the table. The divorce papers. Ryan's eyes widened in horror. "You already filed?" "Of course I did," I said, enjoying the way his face crumbled. "What, you thought I was going to sit around and wait for you to ruin me completely? I spoke to my lawyer days ago. The financial separation is done. The house, you're losing it. The debt, all yours, and Lisa." I smirked. I hope she was worth it, because she can have you now. For the first time in his life, Ryan had nothing left to say. His mouth opened, then closed. He looked down at the papers, completely lost. He had played a stupid game, and now he was facing his well-earned prize. I stood up, grabbing my keys, and gave him one last look. "I was going to spend my life with you, Ryan. I would have done anything for you, but you—" I shook my head. "You ruined everything all by yourself." Then, without another word, I walked out. And for the first time in weeks, I felt free. Leaving Ryan sitting there, drowning in his own mess, was the most satisfying thing I had ever done. No yelling, no tears, just cold, calculated consequences. He had destroyed our trust, gambled with our future, and thought he could just talk his way out of it. Not this time. I didn't look back. I didn't answer his frantic texts, his pathetic attempts at trying to explain himself after I was already gone. I blocked his number, packed my things, and left him to deal with the wreckage he created. A few weeks later, I got an email from my lawyer. Everything had gone through smoothly. The divorce was finalized. My finances were legally separated, and the house foreclosed. Ryan had lost it all. And Lisa? Turns out she wasn't looking for a broke man drowning in debt. She disappeared the second the money dried up. Guess she wasn't so special after all. Meanwhile, I moved into a new apartment, started fresh, and for the first time in forever, I didn't feel like I was constantly waiting for the next lie to drop. I wasn't worried about what secrets were hiding in the mail, what financial disaster was lurking around the corner. I was finally free. And Ryan? Last I heard, he was couch surfing at a friend's place, struggling to keep up with the mountain of debt he had created. No home, no wife, no Lisa. Just karma, hitting him like a freight train. And honestly, I couldn't have planned it better myself. Sometimes the best revenge is letting people destroy themselves. Ryan thought he was outsmarting me, but in the end, he played himself. I didn't have to yell, I didn't have to beg, I just let the truth do the work for me. Have you ever caught someone betraying you in the worst way? How did you handle it? Drop your story in the comments. I'd love to hear it. And if you like this one, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more crazy Reddit-style stories. See you in the next one.